Dan Trachtenberg is the best thing that could have happened to the Predator franchise. Predator Badlands is the ninth film in the Predator franchise and the third film directed by Dan Trachtenberg. So he previously made Prey, and then he co-directed the animated film Predator Killer of Killers, and now you get Predator Badlands. So the cast of the film is pretty small. You have Elle Fanning, who plays the Weyland-Yutani twin sins, Thea and Tessa. You have Demetrius Schuster Kolo Amatangi, who's a New Zealand actor, and he plays Dek, the Predator. We also find out that the Predator species is called the Yautja. I think this is the first film that is actually mentioning that. It's there in the, like, if you've read any of the comics or the novels or whatever, then it's sort of mentioned over there. But this is the first live action film, I think, where they're actually mentioning that the Predator are called the Yautja. Okay, and then you have a couple of actors who play like Deck's brother and father. And then the rest of the cast is played by one actor, which is Cameron Brown. So you have like a whole army of Weyland-Yutani synths, but they're all like factory-made drone synths, so they all look the same. So which is pretty clever, right? So technically you have, for the majority of the film, you have like three actors. Okay, so plot-wise, this is very similar to Prey, in the sense that you have this young outcast who goes off on an adventure to hunt something so they can prove that they belong in the clan. And then along the way, they make some friends and become a better warrior. So in the case of Prey, it was this young Native American woman. And in the case of Predator Badlands, he sort of flips the script and he makes the Predator the main protagonist. So you have Dek, the Yautja. So the story sort of revolves around, like, Dek is the runt of the litter. So he's not as big as the other predators. He's not as skilled as the other predators. And his father calls him the runt of the litter. So in order to sort of prove his worth, he decides to go off on a hunt to this planet very aptly named Death Planet. And there's a creature over there called the Calisk, which even his dad is afraid of. So he's like, I'm going to go hunt the Calisk and chop its head off and bring it back, and that'll get me accepted into the clan. But when he lands there, he finds out that he's not alone. Like, Weyland-Yutani has sent like a exploratory mission to that planet to collect specimen, which is in a way very similar to what's happening in Alien Earth. And then he runs into this synth named Thea, who's sort of like half eaten, like her bottom half is missing.
I could help you.
So they both team up, and she says, I'll help you hunt the Calisk if you sort of help me find my crew again. And that's like the rest of the movie. So as I said, like, Dan Trachtenberg is the best thing that could have happened to this franchise, because most Predator movies have like a very similar plotline. Like, soldiers go into the jungle and then they get killed. Like soldiers, like in the case of the second movie, it's like the police or whatever, but generally it's soldiers. But he kind of said, like, okay, in the second film, like in Predator 2, the end shot is where the Predator gives the gun to Danny Glover's character. I think it was Danny Glover, right? So he gives that musket and it says like 1712 or something. So you realize like the Predator have been coming here for like centuries. And Dan Trachtenberg, I guess, had the idea, like, why don't we set Predator movies in like different time periods? Like, that will be a smart idea. So with Prey, it's set in like 1700s and it's like Native Americans. And then with Killer of Killers, you get three different time periods. So you get like Predator versus Vikings, which is like 900 AD. And then you get Predator versus Samurai and Ninja, which is like 1400. And then you get like a Predator dogfight in World War II. So it just, like, if you're going to do a franchise, I'm not saying like you have to change the plot, because like Jurassic World movies all have the same plot and they all make a lot of money. So, but in this case, I guess, you have to give him credit for, keep trying to do something different and something new. So with this one, it's like, okay, we keep the plot relatively simpler, but let's flip it and let's make the Predator the hero, which makes it interesting enough anyways. What's also interesting is they came up with a brand new language. So we've never really heard anyone speak Yautja. So the greatest thing is like Dimitrios Kolomatangi, who plays Deck. He only speaks in his native language. So he only speaks Yaucha or whatever that's called.
Yaslan zo ijet. Det jet laichish.
So that is pretty cool. Like there's an interview of his where he actually speaks it. It's pretty nice. And then Elle Fanning is sort of the sidekick and the comic relief. It's thankfully not too funny. Like it's not like Marvel level where someone is doing a one-liner all the time, even though it would be interesting to hear a Predator do a one-liner in their language. And then along the way, they also meet like this one little critter that they feed and it gets friendly with them. So it's pretty cute. So I mean, it's a Disney movie, so I guess they had to make like a cute little critter, but it's cute. Like it's done nicely. It has a nice secret. Like there is a twist to it, which you kind of realize about halfway through, but it's a nice twist. Like you don't realize it immediately, but yeah, like when it happens, I was like, oh, that's what it is. So coming to like critters and creatures, amazing VFX work. Like across the board, the entire film is like wall to wall VFX. Like the two big VFX shots in the movie, or which are like across the entire film, is replacing the hero's face, because unlike usual Predator movies where it's usually like a stunt actor and they have like a mask on him, this one, because it's like you have an actual actor playing the Predator, he doesn't have a mask on. Like he has a face, like his face is open, he has like a suit otherwise. And then they had to sort of replace his face for like every frame that he's on screen. So, you get like a Predator face. So that's like a pretty big job. And it's done seamlessly. And then the other is like removing like Elle Fanning's bottom half, and you see like her android entrails sort of hanging out from there. So that's a pretty big job as well. It's kind of hilarious to see like the behind the scenes stuff of how they were shooting this. If I can find it, I'll put like a clip in there. But beyond that, like really, really cool like creature design and like the entire environment and like all the flora and fauna stuff. You get like the little critter that they meet, the Calisk is very, very vicious and cool to look at. And you get a whole bunch of other like animals and creatures that they run into. And you also get like a lot of background stuff where you get to see like these cliffs, and you have like these creatures like hanging on the underside of the cliffs, and they eat like birds which are flying close by. So, but you never get to see them up close. So it's just like, background detail that's been added.
Welcome to the most dangerous planet in the universe.
Very, very nice, like amazing VFX work, which is what surprised me is the budget of this movie, because it's like 105 million, and it is like a lot of work and really good work, which is sort of surprising because like the new Superman movie is something like $220 million. So this is like less than half of that and looks as good as that, which is very impressive. The fight sequences are good across the board. You get a lot of them. The funny thing was like online people sort of complaining because this is technically the first PG-13 Predator movie, but it is pretty violent. Like the only reason it's PG-13 is because there are no humans around. And there are, so my guess is there's no red blood, therefore it's PG-13. So he chops up animals and you get people, like someone's arm gets sliced off and head gets sliced off, but all the blood is either green or white, because like the Weyland-Yutani sins have like white blood. So because it's like green and white, it doesn't really matter, so it gets PG-13, but it is pretty violent. So it's like a technicality on which it is PG-13. But yeah, overall, it's a really fun movie. And I'm glad that, they have someone like Dan Trachtenberg who is sort of like trying to come up with new ideas of how to keep the franchise alive and interesting, rather than just doing the same thing over and over again, which is what like the Terminator movies or the Jurassic World movies do all the time. So yeah, overall, a lot of fun. If you get the chance to see it in the theater, you absolutely should. But yeah, it is a very good entry in the Predator franchise.